Testing sound on Facebook. Testing sound on YouTube. All right, everything's looking good here with the sound. I'm showing 302. We're going to get started here in just one quick moment. Here with the latest on tropical depression number 9. All right, thanks for joining. My name is Kevin Gilmore with the National Weather Service New Orleans Baton Rouge office located in Slidell, Louisiana. We're going to go ahead and get started here with the latest on now tropical depression number 9 as of earlier today, as of late this morning. We are watching a tropical disturbance, again, that's become tropical depression number 9 in the Caribbean, and the system has the potential to impact parts of our area in the northern Gulf Coast. So we're going to go over everything that we know now, everything that you need to know going ahead to prepare for the storm, so that everyone could be best prepared and we know exactly what we'll be dealing with here coming up for at least the next few days. So we're going to get started right into it with the latest actually, let's go ahead and start off right now with latest satellite imagery, kind of like what you're seeing behind me. See if I can kind of jump over and show you what's behind me right now is an infrared and visible satellite image, or we call this the sandwich feed from the GOES 16 geostationary satellite, showing you that the pretty obvious swirl you see with the brighter colors is going to be tropical depression number 9. It's currently located coordinate 17.5 north, 79.5 west, just to the west of Jamaica. And the system is continuing off towards the northwest. And latest satellite presentation is relatively impressive. We are seeing a good outflow channel aloft, what we call anticyclonic flow in the upper levels, out ahead of a upper level trough that's out ahead of it in the eastern Gulf. So what does that mean is pretty much is that the storm is experiencing conditions that are favorable for development. The storm could definitely impact parts of Cuba here coming up where there are tropical storm warnings. So we will be closely watching the storm as it potentially encounters to the southeastern parts of the Gulf of Mexico late Friday and into early Saturday. And when it does, we may be dealing with a strengthening storm, possibly a tropical storm at that point, turning into a hurricane by the time it gets into the central Gulf and continues off towards the northwest, possibly impacting portions of Louisiana, maybe even as far west of as East Texas, and possibly even including the coastal Mississippi and Alabama area. So it's a little early in the game, as you can see. That's the whole point of showing the satellite imagery, is the storm is currently forming. So a lot remains to be seen if the atmospheric conditions will remain that favorable, as there's a lot of variables at play here coming up with the forecast of the storm. So right now we do have an aircraft reconnaissance aircraft out flying across the Gulf of Mexico, which is about to actually come very close into the storm as it's making its turn. Launched off from the coastal Mississippi Air Force Base, and it's kind of head south all across central Gulf of Mexico, and now is approaching the storm from the west. So we're going to be getting a lot more information from this airplane. What will be dropping what's called dropsondes, which is kind of a device used to measure the atmosphere from the plane's height down to the water surface. And we'll get a lot better idea of exactly what the storm is doing, and they'll kind of help with computer model guidance to determine the eventual forecasted path of the storm. So this is common. We do this a lot for storms like this that are close to the United States and impacting areas, impacting any ports, land areas across the Atlantic or of course portions of the Caribbean as well. So we'll have many flights likely as the storm continues to develop here for the next few days. So again, backing up here, showing you the satellite imagery again if you're just joining. Storm is just to the west of Jamaica now. We'll be continuing off towards the northwest, impacting areas like the Isle of Youth, eventually getting into parts of the far western tip of Cuba before emerging into the Gulf late Friday into early Saturday. So let's go ahead and jump right into what we should be expecting here. Let's see if I can kind of jump ahead with some of these slides. Let me just back up a little bit. Well, let me just back up a little bit. There we go. Jumped a little bit ahead there. Talking about here's the latest as of 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time of Tropical Depression number 9 from the National Hurricane Center. Still winds of 35 miles per hour heading to the northwest at 13 miles per hour. So it's got a little bit of a quicker forward speed to it, which is relatively interesting, which we'll have to kind of watch that as well. But you see when it comes into the Gulf, it's going to be potentially a strong tropical storm to minimal hurricane, continuing off towards northwest, and we can see the cone there. It's a wide cone due to lower uncertainty, but we can see that that pretty much includes all of Louisiana, portions of Mississippi, and far east Texas. So as a reminder, you do not have to be at the center of the track to see impacts. Impacts can be well far away from the cone. And we always say that too about the forecast cone. This track can be, there could be impacts well away from the cone itself. In fact, over 2/3 of the time, the center of the storm will remain in the cone. So what this is not telling you is the size of the storm. And that's important to remember that even if it could be a strong or potentially major hurricane, it doesn't have to be a large storm to be a major or strong or major hurricane. It could be small as well. But impacts can be felt way outside of the center of the storm. So keep that in mind too as we go here with the future of the next few updates we're going to be seeing from the National Hurricane Center over the next few days. There could be some movement of this track. And don't pay attention to the centralized point there that you're seeing. But should this forecast hold true as we get towards later this weekend and into later parts of this weekend, that's when we're going to start to see impacts begin for southeast Louisiana and spreading across the entire area during the day on Sunday and into early Monday. So keep that in mind. We have several days ahead, and what you can do for safety is to ensure you have a safe plan in place, which we'll go over more about that here in just a quick moment. So this is something produced by the National Hurricane Center, which is a very helpful tool called the Earliest Reasonable Arrival Time of Tropical Storm Force Winds. What you see there in colors is the chance of receiving sustained 34 knot winds or 39 or greater mile per hour winds, or what we call tropical storm force winds or greater. And we think of it as a between a 5 to 100% chance. So we see there, we're seeing some of those colors getting up to the 8 to 9 out of 10 chance for coastal areas of southeast Louisiana. But we see we got a lot of those brighter colors are all across Louisiana as well. And we may be seeing these colors increase as confidence increases and the storm gets closer to the area here in the next few days. But the key takeaway for this graphic is going to be those lines that you see here. That's the earliest reasonable arrival time of tropical storm force winds. That's going to end up being around Saturday at 8 p.m. or generally speaking later in the day on Saturday into early Sunday. For you, if you're anywhere in these areas across southeast Louisiana and southern Mississippi, you need to have your preparations done before this time. So keep that in the back of your mind while you're doing these preparations and you're doing everything you need to do to stay ahead of the storm. You have a few days here. We have during the day Friday and Saturday, but when you get towards late Saturday, you need to have all those preparations done, especially as we get towards Saturday night and early on Sunday. Get a plan. These are good disaster supply kit items that you can think about. Flashlights, first aid kits, anything that you see here. We've been posting this frequently on Twitter and on Facebook, but take this seriously. We want people that are in the area of the northern Gulf Coast to take the storm very seriously. We also, if you happen to already have a kit, make sure you refresh your items. Keep these points here in mind while you're going through your kit and going over your plans. That there could be definitely some items of yours that have gone old, especially stuff from last year when we had the slew of tropical storms and hurricanes that impacted the area. And if you think there's items that could be old, make sure you go over these items and make sure that they are refreshed. Also think about your pets. Not all shelters accept pets, so please plan in advance when you're taking care of your pets. Consider them as well as we go through here in the next few days. Now, be careful comparing storms. We've been seeing this, unfortunately, a lot across social media lately. Every storm is different. It goes without saying. The different storms have different impacts, hit different areas. Do not compare storms to previous storms. Just be aware of that. The greatest threat might be from heavy rainfall or damaging wind gusts, and sometimes that can vary. Some storms have been slower, faster, stronger, weaker, broader, shorter, smaller. So the key point here is to pay attention to the forecast from our office here locally in National Weather Service, New Orleans, Baton Rouge. and especially the National Hurricane Center. And be aware that if you're out there looking at computer model guidance, that is just that, computer model guidance. Please pay attention to official, reliable sources that come from our office or from the experts at the National Hurricane Center. It is their job to go through the computer model guidance, and they're experts for doing this, to create the forecast that I just showed you right there. Anyone can look at computer models guidance and make a best guess of what it could be doing, but you'll see changes constantly. And it's not something to be taken literally. Please pay attention to our office or the National Hurricane Center or any other official sources for the latest information. And now also meant to show this here at the beginning of the presentation here, but we want people to be aware of what we do here at the National Weather Service and who do we cover. As you see that green color there, that's the area that the National Weather Service New Orleans Baton Rouge office covers. We're one of 122 offices across the United States that cover different portions of the United States. So we cover portions of Southeast Louisiana, southern and coastal Mississippi. Be aware that if you live in any areas outside of this area, be sure to follow these other offices that you see here color-coded for Lake Charles to our west, Jackson, Mississippi to our north, and National Weather Service Mobile to our east, where they will be able to give more information pertaining to those local areas from those office accounts. So keeping that in mind, that we'll be talking about local effects and local impacts. We'll be talking greatly about Southeast Louisiana and southern Mississippi. So going back here, winding things back up here, talking about the latest from the National Hurricane Center. We'll be seeing another update coming out here with the main package at 4 o'clock. And we'll be posting the latest updates from there, or that'll be 5 o'clock Eastern. So look for that as well, especially now that we have an airplane that's investigating the system. We'll have a little bit of a better idea of where the center of the storm is and kind of a better idea of the atmospheric structure of the storm and where the storm may go from there. So we're going to jump back here again, showing you on satellite, kind of as a review of what the storm looks like if you join in a little bit later towards the broadcast. We also wanted to mention as well that we could be seeing some significant impacts as the storm continues off towards the northwest and may be impacting parts of the northern Gulf Coast. We didn't get into the specifics because it's a little early right now to talk about the exact specifics that we may be seeing across Louisiana and maybe parts of Mississippi as well. But pretty much in a storm of this strength, right now the maximum wind speeds of landfall is going to be around 110 miles per hour, which makes it a strong Category 2. We don't want people to focus too much on that, as there could be impacts well outside the center of the storm where those higher winds are going to be. We're not saying there's going to be 110 mile per hour winds all over the place, but that's usually where the eye wall or the center of the storm we're going to see winds like that. So as far as specific impacts go, again, it's a little bit hard to say, but all 4 major impacts are going to be expected, including widespread flash flooding, potential significant storm surge, isolated tornadoes on the east side of the center of the storm, and damaging winds, depending on exactly where the storm is going to go. So be sure to check back with us, where we'll be able to give you a little bit more specifics as the storm gets its act together a little bit more, heads into the southeast Gulf, and then we'll have a lot better idea here in the days to come. So your job, if you live in any prone area in southeast Louisiana or southern Mississippi, especially coastal areas, is to make sure that you have an updated kit and a plan in place. Those are the 2 most important things you can do, because this is where we have plenty of time in advance where we can plan ahead. So take this time, and we mean that seriously, to please prepare for a potential significant storm here later this weekend and into early next week. We will for sure be doing more of these updates repetitively over the next few days. If not me, we'll have someone else be providing you with the latest information. So be sure to join us then, and we'll be posting the latest updates on Facebook and on Twitter. So that's all I got here. I appreciate you paying attention and for joining. So thank you very much. Have a great day.